Okay, hopefully you can see here that I've got what they call the long swan neck here, and the long swan neck in this particular pub here has got one of these 16-hole sparklers. Now, 16-hole sparkler is there to deliver a very tight, creamy head. Hopefully, I don't know whether you can see there, but this has actually got 16 holes in the bottom of it. So the 16 holes are designed to shower the beer into the base of the glass whilst it's been able to gather air. And that little nipple at the end there is a spacer, right? So it's about 1/4 of an inch, which means that actually it's allowed to capture air for a short period of time before clearly the liquid will fill up the glass and bury the nozzle, right? The nozzle needs to be at the base of the glass and needs to stay at the base of the glass all the way through the pour. So the glass remains vertical. So what I'll need to do is I'll need to pour it. Now what I need to do here with this one is the first pull needs to be a good firm pull, not an easy pull. I want to be quite firm with it because I want to hear a nice ch sound as it hits the glass. If it is a sort of a wet soppy sound, then I haven't pulled it hard enough, but if it's pull it too hard, then I'll hear like a hiss. So what I want is a nice ch sound, and that means I've created the head, because the first initial pull on the hand pull creates the head. So that nice sound. So now I can ease off and I pull it all the way through. So what I've now done is I've created the head, and all I'm doing now is with those 16 jets of beer in the glass is now circulating the air that I've caught with that initial blast into the pub. So what I now need to do is I now lower it, and as I was lowering it I was just topping it up. So what I now have is a pint of beer with a beautiful head already being created, and as it settles out I don't need to do anything more to this because it should be a perfect pint if I've got it right. Now some of you might well want to do the 2-part pour where you leave it half full or 3/4 full and then come back and top it up. That's brilliant theatre, all in favour of that, but I'll leave that entirely up to you. But the point being here is I poured a pint of cask ale with nothing going in the drip tray. So that is what I would say is an ideal northern pour with a sparkler on the bottom. However, if I was to pour another one, let's grab a glass here, what I can also do is even though I'm doing it the right way, but if I don't pull it hard enough, so if I can hear that sort of rather wet, soppy sound going on, although this might look fine to start with, actually I've now not aired it properly, because one of the reasons we have the sparklers here is in cask ale is being deoxygenated whilst on its transit from the brewery to the pub. Right, it's been deoxygenated by the natural action of the yeast doing what they call a secondary fermentation. So the idea of sparkling it, or that shower head, is to re-aerate it. Right, so you can see now the difference as this pint settles out. The head is a very thin head, it will collapse very quickly, where this head will last all the way down to the glass. So you have that classic layering of the head all the way down to the bottom of the glass. Okay, just demonstrated one with the sparkler on. Right. Quite often, a number of pubs will find that they haven't got the sparkler on. Now that it hasn't got one of these nozzles on, it now automatically becomes a top-down pour, right? So what I need to do is drop it in. So what I need to do is I need to drop it into the glass with quite a lot of effort. You can see here I'm pouring it wide because I'm actually trying to get the air into the beer, but also create these very tight, stable bubbles. So if I'm doing this properly, again, I'll probably demonstrate it probably a little bit too hard, but what I've now done is I've now got a pint of beer with a decent head on the top of it, but I've now properly aired it. What often happens, because cask ale varies quite often due to the conditioning of the beer in the cellar, that people get quite timid about this. So they tend to be slightly more nervous and they tend to pour it rather slowly because they think it might be very lively. But what will now happen is as I poured a pint of beer, right, I will now fill it up to the top, and I've now got a very large bubbled head. The big bubbles collapse when they burst, so the head will naturally collapse very quickly. So what then happens is the fact that I've now got a head with no head on a pint of beer, and actually it doesn't look particularly appetizing. That looks better, but if I was to go back to the first one I poured, which was actually some minutes ago now, you can still see the head is still there. It's still creamy, it's still tight, and it's still holding on. So I'll leave it up to you which ones you want to do, but if you would like these sparklers, then it's just a quick question of giving InServe a call and they will send them to you.